In our headlines on this Tuesday, October 29th, here on the Korean Peninsula. North Korea's troop transfer to Russia also reportedly includes its generals, who may have already been deployed to battle zones in support of the Kremlin's warfare against Ukraine. Meanwhile, the U.S. hammers out a final framework of restrictions on American individual and institutional investment in Chinese artificial intelligence, computer chips, and quantum computing. And here on the local front, the Kia Tigers beat the Samsung Lions on the baseball ground to win their 12th Korean Series title Monday evening. We start with details from a closed-door briefing to lawmakers by intelligence officials here, who touched upon the likelihood of North Korean generals being deployed to battlefields in support of Russia's warfare against Ukraine. Our correspondent Kim Jong-sil has the latest.
The National Intelligence Service has given its latest update on North Korea's troop deployment to Russia. In a closed-door briefing to the National Assembly Intelligence Committee on Tuesday, the NIS reported on ongoing troop transfers to Russia, including the potential movement of senior officers to the front lines. Additionally, the NIS noted that officials from Russia and North Korea met last week to reconcile differing views on the deployment issue amid growing international criticism.
We believe that a Russian government special flight which travelled between Moscow and Pyongyang on October 23rd and 24th carried a key Russian security official involved in discussions about North Korean troop deployments.
Vice Chairperson Lee added both Pyongyang and Moscow, quote, virtually acknowledged the deployment of North Korean troops to Russia after this visit. The NIS also disclosed that Russian forces have been teaching over 100 military terms to North Korean troops, terms such as on your mark and fire. However, reports indicate communication problems as many North Korean soldiers are struggling with the Russian language. The NIS also warned of possible upcoming provocations by North Korea.
North Korea is preparing to launch a new reconnaissance satellite, reportedly resolving technical issues from a failed attempt in May with assistance from Russia. While the situation remains fluid, there are indications the North may consider its 7th nuclear test after the U.S. presidential election.
North Korea and Russia are reportedly also ramping up economic cooperation, especially in minerals, with covert deals likely to bypass sanctions after signing a new partnership treaty in June. NIS estimates that over 4,000 North Korean workers have been sent to Russia this year. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Seoul and its counterparts in the West, including Washington, continue to closely monitor the military collaboration between Moscow and Pyongyang as thousands of North Korean troops look to join Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
South Korea and the United States say North Korea has sent at least 10,000 troops to Russia to fight in Ukraine, as NATO also warns the soldiers could quickly advance to the front lines of the biggest conflict in Europe since the Second World War. On Monday, Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh said Pyongyang has sent about 10,000 troops to Russia to train and fight in Ukraine within the next several weeks, a significantly higher number than the 3,000 estimated by the White House last week. Singh said some North Korean troops have already moved closer to Ukraine, appearing to head for the Kursk border region, where Russian forces have struggled to push back against the Ukrainian incursion. She also said if the troops enter combat, there would be no limits on the use of US-provided weapons. The spokesperson's remarks came just hours after NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte confirmed that some North Korean units were already in the Kursk region, deeming the development a significant escalation. Rutte had been briefed by a South Korean delegation of military and intelligence officials in Brussels, who said the deployment of North Korean soldiers has been speeding up, with Kim Yong-bok, a high-ranking army official close to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, also sent to Russia. The first deputy director of Seoul's National Intelligence Service, Hong Jang-won, said since the disclosure of North Korea and Russia's military cooperation, it appears the two sides are working impatiently to move an estimated 12,000 troops, with some already dispatched to the Kursk region. President Yoon on Monday held a phone call with the NATO Secretary General, saying he hopes NATO will strengthen its solidarity with Seoul and increase efforts to monitor and block illegal exchanges between Pyongyang and Moscow. Rutte thanked the South Korean leader for swiftly sending a delegation of military intelligence officials to brief NATO member states on the situation and expressed hope to keep sharing battlefield-related information and coordinate response measures. Yoon also talked on the phone with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, warning North Korean troops could move to the front lines at a swifter pace than anticipated. He called for the immediate withdrawal of North Korean troops and an end to the collaboration between Pyongyang and the Kremlin, warning that South Korea would actively implement countermeasures. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky warned North Korea may soon have as many as 12,000 soldiers in Russia and called for weapons and a clear plan to prevent North Korea's expanded involvement. So far, Russia has neither directly confirmed nor denied that it is hosting North Korean soldiers, but has said it is up to Moscow and Pyongyang on how they implement their new security treaty reached in June. The US Pentagon says the North Korea-Russia axis is likely to be discussed when South Korean Defense Minister Kim Jong-un meets his US counterpart Lloyd Austin on Wednesday in Washington, D.C. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korea's top diplomat, meanwhile, is in Russia amid mounting international criticism over the regime's deployment of troops to aid the Kremlin's war in Ukraine. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji has more.
North Korea's foreign minister, Choi Sun-hee, has visited Moscow for the second time in 6 weeks. The North State media KCNA said Tuesday that she left Pyongyang International Airport on Monday without further elaborating how long she'll be in Russia or the purpose of the visit. Che visited Russia last month to take part in a global forum, and she also traveled to Moscow in January, where she met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. South Korea's intelligence agency said in a parliamentary session on Tuesday that Che is believed to have held talks on sending more troops to Russia.
North Korean Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee went to Russia on Monday, October 28th. The National Intelligence Service believes there were follow-up discussions regarding additional troop deployment and reciprocal measures, so it's utilizing all available resources to find out the details of these talks.
Experts also say that Che likely discussed or plans to discuss the specific details of North Korean troops in Russia, such as where they'll be stationed, what they will get in return, and how Pyongyang and Moscow will jointly respond to criticism from the international community. And it's widely believed that she's expected to hold talks on Kim Jong-un's possible visit to Moscow to meet with Putin.
Since Putin visited North Korea in June, Kim Jong-un will likely visit Russia in return. And if that's the case, Kim's visit to Russia could happen in the first half of next year, after the U.S. presidential election. So it's likely that the North Korean foreign minister will have candid discussions on these issues.
Last week, Kremlin spokesperson said there is a possibility that Kim Jong-un could visit Moscow next year, noting that high-level exchanges are always taking place with Pyongyang as its close neighbor. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
Over in the Middle East, Israel is banning a UN relief agency for Palestinian refugees from operating in its territory, as well as in areas under its control. Our Yoon explains.
On Monday, Israel's parliament passed a bill banning the United Nations Relief and Works Agency from operating on Israeli territory and areas under Israel's control. The UNRWA, providing life-saving services in war-torn Gaza, was established in 1949 to provide humanitarian aid to Palestinian refugees in the West Bank, Gaza, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a statement about the legislation, reiterated his claims that UNRWA employees are involved in Hamas-related terrorist activities. In response, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed deep concern, stating there is no viable alternative to the UNRWA, warning that the legislation could have devastating consequences for Palestinians. The legislation is set to take effect in 90 days, further jeopardizing an already strained aid distribution process for Gazan civilians. The UNRWA's former General Counsel said on Tuesday that Israel's move represents a broader attack on the UN system, calling for a strong response. The move has also drawn worldwide condemnation from countries including Australia, Belgium, Jordan, Ireland, Norway, Slovenia, Spain, Switzerland, and the UK. World leaders have described it as intolerable, illegal, and nothing less than collective punishment. This decision by Israel comes despite U.S. State Department concerns that there's no substitute for the UNRWA amid the ongoing crisis, and a statement from foreign ministers of 7 countries, including South Korea, opposing Israel's actions. Meanwhile, Israel's attacks in Lebanon are intensifying. According to Lebanon's health ministry, at least 60 people were killed in Israeli strikes on Monday night across 12 areas in Baalbek, eastern Lebanon, including 2 children. Nearly 60 others were reported injured. The Israeli military's offensive in Gaza continues, with reports of at least 7 Palestinians killed in northern Gaza and 10 in the central region. Additionally, reports stated that the Israeli military set fire to a school run by the UNRWA in the Zabalia refugee camp. Since the onset of the Middle East conflict, the death toll in Gaza has surpassed 43,000, while in Lebanon it has exceeded 2,700. Yoon, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, President Yoon has reaffirmed his commitment to his administration's 4 major reforms, namely health, pension, education and labour. At a cabinet meeting earlier on this Tuesday, he urged officials to dedicate the remaining 2 months of the year to seeking tangible advances in efforts to revamp these 4 sectors. Highlighting healthcare reform as one of the most urgent, President pointed to potential healthcare challenges amid the upcoming winter season and the prolonged collective action by doctors against the expansion of medical school enrollment quota. He also spoke of better support for young caregivers of elderly family members. Today, that is October 29th, marks a grim anniversary here in South Korea. 2 years ago on this day, more than 150 lives were lost during a crowd crush at an alley in Seoul's Itaewon district. Now, in memory of the victims, a solemn ceremony was held at the Parliament today. Our correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
It's been 2 years since the unimaginable tragedy in Itaewon, where a crowd crush resulted in the loss of 159 lives. To remember those who perished, lawmakers gathered at the National Assembly on Tuesday, along with about 120 family members of the victims of the disaster. This is the first time the Assembly has officially hosted a memorial ceremony for a humanitarian disaster.
Protecting victims' rights, uncovering the truth, and preventing tragedies are essential steps toward creating a better future. The National Assembly is committed to leading this effort.
Along with the photos of the victims, the walls of the venue displayed a message that said, "We still have names to remember. We will not forget the 159 who tragically lost their young lives." Other memorial ceremonies took place across the nation, including in front of Itaewon Station, to offer prayers for the victims and condolences to their families and survivors. Meanwhile, during a cabinet meeting the same day, President Yoon emphasized the importance of reviewing crowd safety measures.
안타깝게 돌아가신 분들의 명복을 빌며 슬픔을 안고 살아가시는 유가족 분들께도 깊은 위로의 말씀을 드립니다. 관계 부처는 클라우드 매니지먼트를 비롯해서 다중 안전 체계를 점검하고 보완하는 데 만전을 기해 주기 바랍니다.
신하영, 아리랑 뉴스.
In other news, the U.S. has hammered out a final framework of restrictions on American individual and institutional investment in Chinese advanced technology. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin covers the broader implications of these measures for Korea and more.
The U.S. government's new investment controls targeting China are expected to have a limited impact on the South Korean economy. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy announced in a statement on Tuesday that this was because the rules that aim to restrict American investment in advanced technology in countries of concern only include mainland China and the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. The rules finalized by the U.S. Treasury Department on Monday local time restrict American transactions involving advanced technology, such as semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing that could threaten U.S. national security. The rules, which will take effect on January 2, 2025, are designed to implement President Joe Biden's executive order signed in August last year. The regulations aim to prevent China from enjoying intangible benefits that are believed to come with U.S. financial support, including enhanced standing and prominence, managerial assistance, investment and talent networks, and market access. noting that advanced technologies are fundamental to the development of next-generation military surveillance, intelligence, and certain cybersecurity applications. Assistant Secretary for Investment Security Paul Rosen said the Biden-Harris administration is committed to keeping these out of the hands of those who may use them to threaten U.S. security. The Treasury is also setting up a global transactions office to oversee the new rule, and violators will be fined up to around $368,000 or twice the value of the prohibited transaction, whichever is greater. Moving forward, the South Korean government pledged that it will analyze the impact that the rules have on the economy from various angles, but closely communicating with domestic businesses and experts. One expert echoed the government's assessment of the impact that it will have on Korean companies.
So I think everybody expected the strengthening of restrictions, and most Korean firms, I think, have prepared for this, so they would not have too much problems.
He added that these rules nevertheless indicate that domestic companies will have to be more mindful of exports they make to China in the future. 이수진, Arirang News.
Reservations for COVID-19 vaccinations for babies and children here in the country have begun today. According to health officials, the reservations are for babies who are 4 months old up to children who are 6 years old. The actual vaccinations themselves will begin on November 11th. Now, children will require up to 3 shots, depending on their prior vaccination history. Reservations can be made via phone or on site at a hospital. More information is available on the website of the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency. On the baseball ground, the Kia Tigers beat the Samsung Lions Monday evening to win their 12th Korean Series title. Our Lee Seung-jae has the highlights.
Going into Game 5 of the 2024 Korean Series on Monday, the Kia Tigers had never lost a championship series, with 11 out of 11 previous Korean Series appearances ending in victory. After Monday night's game, Kia made it 12 for 12. Down 5-1 at one point in the game, the Tigers stormed back to beat the Samsung Lions 7-5 to win their first KBO League title since 2017. What made Monday's win even more special was that the Tigers were able to clinch the title in front of a sold-out home crowd for only the second time in their 12 championship wins. The Gwangju-based team now becomes the first professional baseball team to win a Korean Series title in 5 different decades: the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, and now 2020s. While the Kia Tigers boast some of the best power hitters in the league, it wasn't the power hitters that helped them to victory. The 165-centimeter infielder Kim Sun-bin was named the Korean Series MVP after going 10 for 17 in the 5 games. He beat his teammate Kim Tae-gun 46-45 in media voting. While the Kia Tigers' 2024 season started off with their manager Kim Jong-guk getting fired over a bribery allegation, Lee Bum-ho, a Kia Tigers legend himself, took over the managerial role. The Kia Tigers cruised through the regular season, finishing first in the regular season and getting a direct bye to this Korean Series. And with no back-to-back Korean Series winners since the 2015-2016 Doosan Bears, the Tigers look to change that next season and defend their title. But for now, it's celebration time for the 12-time champions. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The pop collaboration 아파트 between BLACKPINK'S Rosé and Bruno Mars has debuted at number 8 on Billboard's Hot 100. This ranking makes Rosé the highest listed female K-pop artist ever on Billboard. BLACKPINK hit 13th place on the Hot 100 chart in 2020 with the song Ice Cream, a song released with Selena Gomez. Meanwhile, 아파트 entered the UK's official singles chart top 100 in 4th place. Meanwhile, the song Hype Boy by New Jeans has been played over 600 million times on global streaming service Spotify. According to the group's agency Adore on this Tuesday, the song from the group's debut album New Jeans became the 4th to hit the 600 million mark after OMG, Ditto and Super Shy. The song Hype Boy was released back in August 2022. Author Han Gang owns a bookstore, a small bookstore that has been attracting quite a number of fans following her winning of this year's Nobel Prize for Literature. It has also rekindled interest in reviving such neighborhood stores. Our Yoon has more.
This is an independent bookstore that Nobel Prize-winning novelist Han Gang has been running for 6 years, despite it operating at a loss. She selects the books to display, stock, and share with the community personally, and also holds meetings with fellow writers. After her recent Nobel Prize for Literature, it has become a popular attraction.
I heard the news of novelist Han Gang winning the Nobel Prize for Literature, so I ran here to congratulate her.
Independent bookstores compete in the shadows of big chain bookstores, but they play an important role in introducing essential books and providing a space for reading groups, as well as preserving diversity in the publishing industry. The challenge is that selling books alone isn't enough to keep the small bookstores from operating at a deficit.
Bookstores that are smaller than 100 square meters are difficult to maintain by just selling books. Owners often also run a cafe or bar business with the library to keep the bookstores afloat.
Taking this into account, one large chain bookstore has decided to limit the sales of Han Gang's books to a total of 2,000 books per day across 8 of its branches. Instead, her books will be supplied first to small independent bookstores. This is in response to recent requests for a priority supply of Han Gang's books due to fast depleting stocks.
Even if it's temporary, if books in shortage are supplied at the smaller bookstores, it will greatly help revive them. In the long run, we need to discuss ways for the larger and smaller bookstores to coexist.
Han Gang's achievement of winning the Nobel Prize in Literature, which led to her books quickly selling out, has created a positive win-win atmosphere for the big chain bookstores and independent bookstores for the first time in a long while. Yoon, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. The United Nations Weather Monitoring Agency, the World Meteorological Organization, says carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are accumulating faster than any time experienced during human existence. According to Monday's press release by the organization, greenhouse gas levels surged to a new record last year, with carbon dioxide concentrations increasing 11.4% in just the past 2 decades. The WMO's annual greenhouse gas bulletin stated that CO2 concentrations hit a record high of 420 parts per million in 2023, increasing by 2.3 parts per million from 2022. It added that the current level of CO2 is 51% higher than pre-industrial times before 1750. WMO Secretary General Celeste Saulo said that this should set alarm bells ringing among decision makers. With just a week ahead of the US presidential election, ballot drop boxes in 2 American cities were set on fire on Monday morning, which authorities are treating as connected incidents of arson. According to Portland police, an identical car was seen at both scenes, and a similar incendiary device was used in both incidents, which took place in Portland, Oregon, and the nearby city of Vancouver in Washington state. Local officials said that 3 ballots were damaged in Portland, while hundreds may have been damaged in Vancouver. American actor Timothée Chalamet surprised fans on Sunday as he appeared at his own lookalike contest in New York City. The event, which had a $50 prize for the winner, was hosted by a YouTube personality at Washington Square Park in Lower Manhattan. The actor greeted his lookalikes, who were dressed as characters played by Chalamet. The police ordered the group of fans to disperse, which led to 1 arrest, while a $500 fine was issued to the organizers for holding a costume contest without a permit. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Today, cloudy skies continued across the country. In some Midwestern regions and on Jeju Island, there was some light rain in the earlier part of the day. From tomorrow, clear skies will be revealed nationwide again. For the time being, the daily temperature range is expected to be large, so it's easy to catch a cold in these conditions. Please take care of your health. By tomorrow, strong winds of around 15 meters per second will blow around the southern coast and Jeju Island. You'd better check any items that could get blown away. Tomorrow, Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Daegu will start off at 10 degrees Celsius, Busan 14, Jeju 17 degrees. Highs will move up to 22 in Gwangju, Daegu, and Jeju, Busan 24 degrees. This week, we'll be able to feel the autumn conditions around the country. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up now is our daily panel session. Do stay with us.